Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I am trying out something which I have been wanting to try for such a long time. I'm actually going to be trying out wood burning or pyrography, which I have learned it is also called. My good friend Matt actually bought this little kit here and lent it to me so that I could try it out, so shout out to Matt. And I've also got a wooden painting panel or like a wooden art panel from Kmart, and that's what I'm actually going to be using for the surface that I am burning. So here are all of the little tips on this little wood burning kit. They look quite interesting. It also comes with this little metal stand here so that you don't burn the surface of your desk, or perhaps, you know, shatter it if it's glass like my desk. And yeah, this looks really interesting, and honestly I am a little bit nervous to try this out because I have never done it before, and obviously this thing gets really hot so you can burn yourself, so make sure you read all of the safety directions and stuff in the manual because honestly that is such a good idea. And yeah, here is a better look at the wooden surface, and now let's actually get into making the art. So before I actually get into burning, I do want to make a sketch because this is just going to make it so much easier for me to actually do like a cohesive artwork instead of just going straight in with the wood burning because it is permanent. So I'm starting off here with some guidelines using my ruler, which has a bit of paint on it, but we'll ignore that. I'm just using a graphite pencil here, and I'm ruling out the lines, and I'm actually drawing a window, as you can see. And after that, I'm actually going in and I am drawing some little things on the windowsill, including a little plant there, as well as the main star of the show for this artwork, which is a little cat. I just really love the idea of making an artwork of a cat looking out the window, and like you can see the cat from behind. And perhaps some other cute things on the windowsill too, like this little teapot here, a little teacup as well. And just to fill the space, I'm going to add in some trees outside in the window to make it look more interesting. And now that I've got most of my sketch done, I'm going to lighten it a fair bit using my kneadable eraser, which helps to just remove most of the graphite while leaving a light sketch behind, which is quite useful. After this, I decided I wanted to add a few things to the wall on either side of the window. So I added a little picture frame on one side and a clock on the other, but I wanted to keep most of it sort of simple as well, honestly, because I have no idea how this wood burning is going to turn out. So I kind of want to not put too much on my plate at the moment, and I think this is going to be fairly detailed as it is, especially for a first ever wood burning. I have never done this before, and now I'm actually doing it. So first impressions, it's definitely a little bit more difficult than I expected, even though I knew it was going to be a bit of a challenge because you're like poking wood with this hot thing that makes fire, and you have to like wear a mask and stuff so that you're not breathing in the smoke. But honestly, one thing I didn't like about this wood burning tool was, especially with this tool here, the thin pointy one that I'm using, it got a little bit wobbly, which actually was worrying me a little bit because I tightened it as much as I could, but it says not to tighten it like with pliers because you might damage it. So I just tightened it with my hand as much as I could, but it still loosened up slightly, and it was a little bit wobbly too. So I was kind of scared of the tip just like falling out of it and like ending up on my desk or somewhere burning, which is a little bit of a scary bit for me, but I pushed through it. And once I got the cat and the plant done, I went in and I drew some straight lines for the windowsill and the little bits up and down that are on the window, you know, the frame. And I found it a little bit difficult going against the grain because when you're going with the grain, the texture of the wood kind of helps to guide you, but when you're like crossing over it, it wants to wiggle a little bit, so I had to be very careful in making sure that my lines were straight. And this didn't help too much with the slightly wiggly tip as well, because I felt like if I pushed like hard, it would like wobble around. Anyways, this feels a little bit dangerous, but honestly it wasn't too bad. It was mainly just my like fears of getting burnt. But once I ended up moving on from that tip, it was a bit better. So now we got the lines for the window grid. I'm just going in and I'm adding in just the makeup for the windowsill as well as the teapot, and I'm just basically doing line art at the moment, and afterwards I'll go in and fill in areas and add texture. But one of the favorite parts of doing this actually was the branches of the tree. I really loved the way that I got some of those twigs looking. They definitely look quite natural and they look like they're made up of, well, wood, I guess. But I really love the way that the texture of the branches are. And once I go in later on with a thicker nib for this wood burning tool, I ended up getting some really cool textures on the branches. Now I actually want to go in and just add some little textures here and there for the wood frame of the window, and now I'm going to go in and see what I can do with the other nibs. So this nib here is actually, it looks like an angled one, and I heard that you can do some shading with this one, and honestly I kind of found it a little bit difficult to use. It was a bit strange, but honestly once I got into it and I decided to use it for some texture for the windowsill, I actually ended up getting a really cool sort of wood grain texture with this, and I don't know, I just feel like the colors worked really nicely because it is made out of wood. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. So after this I went and I moved on to this sort of like interesting shaped tip, and it's like a teardrop shape and I'm not sure what it's called. However, it was quite good for filling in large areas of like color. Now when I was filling in that cat, I realized that it's kind of looking a little bit like a tortoiseshell cat, and honestly I was not planning on it, but I did like it. But then afterwards I sort of had to fill it in a little bit more because I felt like if I didn't make it very dark, it wasn't going to stand out too much against that wood grain on the windowsill. After this, I'm using this tip here, as you can see, for the bark of the branch of the tree, and honestly I really like the textures that it got. It looks really cool, and it ended up getting some like slight highlight slash shadow textures on it that really do look a lot like bark. After this, I decided to add in a little bush here. Now this wasn't in my original sketch, but I decided that it needed a little bit more balancing out, so I just added a little bush there with the rounded tip. And honestly I find that the rounded like bullet tip for this like wood burning tool was actually probably the best one. It was the most easiest to control, and I just like touched it really lightly to get finish lines and pushed a little bit darker and like burnt into more of the wood to get a thicker line. And I was able to get some pretty little leaves here which are on this tree, and a few that are also blowing in the wind. And honestly I really like this. I think it's turning out very cool, but I feel like I kind of just want to add a little pop of color. And in my research I found that a lot of people actually use watercolor paint or sometimes acrylic paint to stain the wood so that you get a little bit of color along with that wood burning. And I just thought that that was a really fun idea, and I felt like it might be good for me in this painting, and it could probably help to sort of differentiate the walls of this house versus outside. And I decided to go with watercolor for this one because I really wanted to just sort of like stain the wood. I didn't want to cover up any of that wood texture or the grain or anything like that, so I just wanted to add a little bit of a tint to this. And honestly this is where I really liked it, and I just felt like the bright colors helped a fair bit. I kind of like both versions, with and without the color added. I don't know, they both have a very different feel to them, and let me know in the comments below which version you like, before the color or after the color. So anyways, I had a lot of fun with this, especially once I got over the scary aspect of possibly burning yourself. The wood burning was quite a lot of fun and definitely takes a lot of skill. So big respect to all of the wood burning artists out there that are doing like crazy realistic stuff. I have a lot of respect for that and I think it is so cool. So here is the final results. Please let me know in the comments below how I did for my first go. Did I do well? Did I do some mistakes that you might let me know and maybe I could, learn from this experience? Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit that like and subscribe button to get your Scribble fix in the future. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Please stay safe out there and I shall see you in my next video. Bye everyone.